ready. Any minute, we're ready to start. You need some watercolors, something to add color, pencil, heavyweight paper, something you can watercolor on and draw, and brushes and water, all that good stuff. And y'all tell me, is it 1 o'clock? Yes. It's 1 o'clock. Welcome to Art Lessons. Happy Thursday. And today we are going to take care of a little business before we get started. Number one, we had an awesome survey and lots of responses on what we were going to name the studio guy. And the winning, Tate, do you want to come make the announcement? Do you remember what the winning name was? Come on over here. You can come over here and make the announcement. You have to speak it out loud. The winning name was?
Kenny.
Kenny. All right. So say hello to Kenny, our studio guy. And the other thing is we've had lots of requests because my kiddos are here and they've been helping me every day. I also have a bonus kiddo, Michaela, who comes in when she can. She is also one of our heroes. Michaela is a nurse. So when she is not helping here, she is working at our local hospital. But her family's all in Texas. She's part of our family. We're all quarantined together. So Talia is going to move around the camera, and we're going to introduce you to the rest of the family. So Tate, you already know Tate. Tate, you want to walk it around? You want to show Keaton? Keaton's back. Oh, we're going to go around. We're going to catch Michaela first. Keaton, you might have to go over by Michaela. There's Michaela.
Hey.
You can see kind of our random lights. Oh, Keaton, you have to squat down. Run over and say hi by Keaton. You get to meet. Here we go. You get to meet there. And Talia, you got to catch you right there. Oh, wait, Talia, you missed your face. Bend down. Bend down. There she goes. There. And I think you got a full 360 of one of the rooms in the studio. So, there you go. You got to meet Talia and Keaton and Michaela, and you got to see what goes on behind the scenes here in the studio. My studio is in Paducah, Kentucky, and we have several rooms. This is one of our art lesson rooms, and we had to figure out how to make videos really fast because normally we're all in person gathered together, but because now we get to reach out to each other's homes, we had to kind of figure it out, and we're still always learning. So we love your input. And we love that you share your work with us and your pictures and all those things. It just makes this time that was unexpected, that we didn't know we were going to get together, that we didn't know we were going to have art lessons in our kitchens and dining rooms and living rooms. And I'm so grateful when I hear from y'all because it's an encouragement to me. So thank you for sharing your pictures and your work and your comments and your encouragement. It is such a blessing, and it just makes our day. So with that note, speaking of people sharing, the Dickies have a dog named Nellie, and they shared a picture of their dog with me, and I've kind of blacked out the background, and that's going to be our subject today. What we're going to do is we're going to use a dog as our subject. This is Nellie, and we're going to really understand drawing. Remember, we talk about drawing as made up of shapes? Well, those shapes also have a relationship. So this is the kind of thing that I want to use this. This is a very interesting angle for a dog. It reminds me of the blue dog pictures. If anyone's familiar with that, just give me a shout out and say, I know what the blue dog pictures are. If not, you can look those up. I think you might have fun after the class. Once you learn how to draw a face like this, you might have fun trying different colors. The Fauvist, F-A-U-V-I-S-T, Fauvist movement was where they would take things that had normal colors and they'd put crazy colors on them. So the blue dog reminds me of that. It's not from that movement, but it really represents that. So after the class, if you decide, once you look that up, you want to turn Nellie into a blue dog, you can use all sorts of crazy colors. But for today, we're going to stick really in this color scheme, and we're going to really try to understand drawing with the shapes and how they have relationships to each other. And this funny angle kind of gives us that opportunity. So I want you to, we're going to draw right on the paper that we're also going to paint on. So I'm going to draw up here so you can see it, but you'll be on your tables or your countertops, and just go ahead and you're going to follow along with me. If you have any questions, let me know along the way. But we're going to kind of look at Nellie's head a little bit. And this is true not just for dogs. This is really true when we talked about the horses, when we talked about drawing hands, how all those go together. We'll see kind of a circle right here. So that's going to be our starting point. And remember, this is about, if we divided our paper in half, this is about right in the second top of our paper. So we're going to put that circle in. So I'm going to put that in here. That's a little ovally, but we've got this circle right here. That's what we're looking for, that shape. See how this is made up of that. So that's where we're going to start. We're going to put that circle in the upper portion of our paper. So then we're going to kind of say, oh, well, we've got to make the face is longer than that. See, because the circle's there. So we need another circle down here. Now see how that is smaller? See how that, and it's almost even like a rounded square. So let's try and put that down there. So we're going to put more a rounded square, a little bit of squash circle. See how I did that? So we've got the circle up here. We're looking at that. And then you've got kind of this part where the nose falls. So we're building that face structure together. So we're going to worry about the body when we get done with this, because it's kind of, it reminds us a little bit of that tiger from Rousseau where we only saw part of it. So we've got this together. Let's connect those. So we come along and we're going to connect them like this. We're going to kind of connect those like that. So you see how we're getting this face shape right here? Our circle and our nose area, and we connected those. Now we're going to go ahead and put our nose right in here. Now, if that circle came along right here, that nose is kind of taking up most of the center there. So let's go ahead and put that nose pretty full. It looks like another circle. So we're going to put that nose right in there, kind of taking up that circle spot. See how we have this? The important thing of thinking of drawing this way is you can start looking at anything and start saying, oh, I see that. I see that if that shape is there, or I see that there's another shape there. Even if it doesn't make a perfect circle, you can start identifying those parts, even down here, and putting all those together, and those are the building blocks. So we've got our head, our nose, and then our actual nose right there. Now, if you can follow up with me, it almost looks like that nose goes in a point. And that's going to be important. So let's kind of carry that together. We're going to carry that nose up in a point. And that's trying to help me build that together, because that's going to go this way. And then if I come outside, it's as though this goes right up to the inside of the eyes. Do you remember drawing the face and how everything connects? So we're going to look, that's the relationship I'm looking for. I'm looking, where does this line go and end? It might not end with an eye, it might end with an ear, but that's how you start understanding scale and where things fall. So we're going to go up and we're going to find that eye. Here's the point right here of our triangle. So we know our eyes are going to be right above that. See there? So we're going to follow this end, and we're going to go right across here, and we're going to know that our eye is right there. So let's go ahead and give ourselves an eye. See how we came up like that? And we're going to do that on the other side. Remember, here's kind of our triangle of our nose. Can they see that in the camera? Okay. And then we came straight up from where the side of the mouth is. So we're going to come up there, and we're going to give ourselves another eye. Can you see? We're starting to get Nellie. We've got her eyes, we've got her nose, we've got her head shape in here. And now I think what we need to find are her ears. So if we look, remember we talked about relationships and where shapes are? This ear is pretty much a triangle, but you have to know where the triangle starts. Do you see how it starts about where the eye is? So we're going to start right there, and we're going to come on up, and my charcoal is not working. And then we're about right here. Oh, I think when I get to the top, this is a new pad and it's Post-it paper. I think it has something on there. So we're going to come up and we're going to go like that. Now, where does that end? If you went straight up from the eye, you see how that works? It's almost like we're squaring that off. That's what you're trying to look for, how those things go together. Do we have a question?
Just a little bit darker on your permanent lines.
Sure. Well, can y'all see it well enough? I'm trying to keep them a little bit lighter, and then I'm going to go over just where we're going to keep our contours on our outside. So let's go ahead and get the ear. I want to go ahead and mark everything in, and then I'm going to go over it. So we're going to get this ear. It's kind of a floppy triangle, as though the end of the triangle flopped down. But we've got this. Look, that side, if I come from the eye over, you're always looking for those relationships, like what meets next to that. There it is. And then if I come kind of up here, we're going to get that end. So let's come over. And there's our floppy. We'll give it a little ear. And then I'm going to come up to about where the top of the eye would be. You see how we get that up here? We're getting those relationships between the eye. So we started with that circle. We added this on right here. See how we did this? We added our nose. We kind of notice that this forms. The reason we put this triangle in is so we can almost as a reminder to ourselves that that's going to bridge up, that's coming up. So, and it helps us know where that nose kind of ends, almost like your nose comes in right here. It helps us to see that, to help us to know where to get that relationship for the eyes. Then we put in our ears. Now we're going to kind of lay in where the body is. Now you don't see much of the body here because you're looking down on the dog. The way a lot of people would look at a dog, you'd be standing up tall, looking down. This is what's called foreshortened. It means you don't see all of it. Another way to explain foreshortening, is if I put my hand out to here, my arm only looks like it's this big because you can't see the way you can see all of this. When I put it this way to you in the camera, you don't see all of it. You see my hand and you might see the top part of my shoulder. So you know it's there, the brain knows it's there, but the eye, when it's drawing it, it can't find it. So that's kind of what's happening here with the body. So if we have our head, we're going to put in the circles for the body, and then we're going to go over all of it and follow our contour lines and get ready for painting. So if you missed a step along the way, don't worry. This is kind of one of those things because it's all those building blocks of drawing. And sometimes you're looking at it and you're studying it and you're thinking, oh wait, she's gone on. Don't worry, we'll go back over it. But let's go ahead and notice this is another circle. Do you see that? Because we can't see where her legs are all the way. We can't see the rest of her, but we know this is there. So if this circle came just like this, do you see how it comes above, about where we put this right here? So we know that if I follow it with my same arm, same finger, that circle is about right here. So we know we're going to put another circle in. I'm going to let it go behind the head. And we're going to come down about right here. And we're going to circle, and we want to end up about right here, almost to the ear, not there. So we're going to come all the way around. You see how we made that right there. So we started where the mouth was. We came along, and we're going to come up, not quite to the ear, but about right here. And then we have a little bit right here. So you wouldn't see most of that because that's a circle there. So that really ends up being a little bit, comes into the ear and comes down right here. So now we basically have all of our dog except the feet. So let's go over where we started. And what I'm going to do is I'm only going to darken the lines that I'm going to keep, because we don't necessarily need to keep all of these. I'll use my finger to point to those. So remember, we did her head, Nellie's head, we did this circle. So right now, I know Nellie's head comes along here, so I'm going to darken that up. Now, as I'm redrawing it, I might notice it gets a little flatter here or has a few things, so we're kind of... Now, my line also comes there, but I don't necessarily need to do that, darken that, because that's just part of helping me know where to go. I want to make sure I darken this part, because that's actually what's going to stay in our drawing. So we did the circle on the head. The second thing we did was we went around and we did the nose. So I'm going to darken this part because I'm going to keep that area, or muzzle, I guess that'd be called the muzzle of the dog. So I'm going to come down and I'm going to darken this right here. And remember, we originally drew that to keep that together. And then we connected those two. Those were our first two steps. So I'm going to darken that out. So really the line I'm darkening is that contour line of her head right here. Got that? Then what we did is we noticed her nose was right here. So let's darken that in, because pretty much that stays. Now while I'm right here on the nose, I notice she has two nostrils. So I'm going to go ahead and add those. So let's come to the nose. Let's add those nostrils in right there. Almost looks like a little piggy without the rest of the shading. So let me color those in. We'll go ahead and add those in. She's got that nostril right there. And we'll do some shading to make that connect. So we've got her head. Then the next thing is we notice there's a triangle here. I don't necessarily need to go over that again. It's as more to help me find those relationships. But we drew from that nose, following this triangle. We're noticing those shapes. And that triangle helped us find that where our eyes are located. Our eyes needed to be above that triangle. And we also noticed our eyes were in line with the edge of this muzzle, or where her nose and mouth falls. So we put those in and put those lines. Now we know her eyes are here, so we'll go ahead and make sure her eyes stay right here. We'll darken those up in just a little bit. So we've got her face. Then, remember how we looked at our ears. We came across where our eye is, and we knew it was going to come up in a triangle shape, like this, and we knew it was going to come down about to where the top is. So, it won't let me darken up here for some reason. I'll try and do it with my paint. Maybe it will. Now I'm going to show you a detail right here while we're up at the ear. This is where the ear flaps over. We're going to add that detail while we're right up here. That ear flaps over almost right there. So we're going to add that little detail. So you see how we're starting to get all that together? And we're going to do the same over here. Remember, we found our ear where it came up from the eye and over from the eye, and we drew that floppy shape, that floppy triangle, because Nellie's ears are flopping. And she also has that little, where you're seeing the inside. So let's draw that line and we're going to catch that flop. See how we get that line right there? So we're adding a few little details as we go along. And then we got the body, where we added that next circle. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of highlight that. Okay. And then we added the end of the body over here. Okay, so you see where we're going? Now we're going to add her feet in, and then we're going to start doing our details in color and doing a little bit of shading so we understand where to put this. So we want to look at relationships. We know her feet are at the bottom, so we know they're down here. And then if I look at where this nose falls, see, the center of her nose falls to about that foot. So we're going to follow that down. If I'm going to take this, and I know that her foot then is right here. So we're going to just make a little rectangle or a shape to represent her foot right there. And then about this same width is about the same in the middle. So I know the other foot's going to start about that distance. So did you see what I did there? We want to just mark out where the foot goes. We know it comes from about the center of the nose. So we're kind of coming down here, and I'm going to mark it out. And then about this same width is how far I space that. So I had 2 fingers. Yours may be 1 or 3. So I'm going to space it there. And then look, that foot's about the same. So I know I'm going to come over here. You see what I did? I made a space, a space, a space. And I'm going to add that other paw in there. So we're just giving our shapes right now to make sure we know. We're going to go through and start adding all sorts of little details. But I want to make sure you get how the body goes in here. Now, we've got another little foot and a little bit of body right there. So let's add that little body. It comes down underneath the eye and connects there. So we're going to add that little bit of body right there. Finish her off. And then look where do you see where those junctions are? Right where that meets. Right there, see? That's where that little tiny foot's going to come out. And we know it's smaller than here. So we're going to come out and we're going to make it a little bit smaller than there. So we know where that foot comes out. So now we've got all our shapes. We've got our head, our eyes, our nose, our ears. We've got our body. And we can only see 3 of her paws. We know she has 4, but she's sitting on it. We can't see it right now. So let's start trying to do a little shading and get ready for our painting. So the first thing we're going to want to do is do her eyes. Now, if you notice, the eyes are mostly black, but we're going to leave a little white dot. That's her reflection. So to do that, go ahead and draw your white dot in there. Okay? Mine are going to be a little bit big to show you, and then I'm going to color around those. We're going to use paints to do this too, but sometimes when you first start doing this, coloring it in a little bit can help you see that. So we start seeing that we have some reflection. So we left a little dot and we colored in around the eyes. Now we're still pretty flat. We don't have a lot of depth right now. So let's go down, and our nostrils we added, but we notice there's a little bit of a reflection across the nose, like right about here. So I'm going to draw that reflection in, and then I'm going to color, and then there's a little, you want to leave a space around the nostrils. We're just going to color that in. Leave your reflection. Get her nose in. Now this isn't as white as her eyes, so I'll just shade it lightly. But just so we know that that is a little bit lighter for everyone to see. And then, before we start painting, we're going to notice that this is darker down here. So let's go ahead, and we even have some hair that comes down. So I'm going to go ahead and give myself some hair. So I know that I have some hair. I just did a squiggly line. That'll represent that. And then I'm going to darken this up. Just get that darker down here. Just so when I come in with the paint, I'm going to remind myself, and I'm going to come up to that hair right there. Remind myself that that is darker down here. And where this connects, it's a little darker right there. So just kind of getting our little bit of shading as we start coming in. So we went a little bit darker down here. We've got our eyes, our nose, a little bit of shading, because where does the shading fall? The shading falls where there isn't light. If you watch the apple, we talked about light source. So on here, the light source, because you're looking down, is coming from above. So anything that's underneath is going to be darker. So she has 1, 2, 3, 4 little toes. So let's go ahead and give ourselves lines. You're going to need 3 lines to divide that space into 4 toes. So 1, 2, 3. And then just kind of round that off. Let's let her little paws come in there. See how that works? Can you see that? We're giving her little paws. And then we're going to do the same thing over here. We need those 3 lines. 1, 2, 3. And we're giving her little paws there. Now, no matter what you're drawing, you're just looking and observing and counting. And you're breaking those into shapes. Now, if I was just sitting down and drawing this, because I've drawn for so long, I would do a quick gesture, contour line, I would block it in, and then I would start doing my details. But when you're first learning to draw, understanding, breaking all these things down really helps you figure it out. So, now we're going to add one more little shading because we want to remember that this little flap we added is darker. So we want light comes forward, dark recedes. So we're going to shade right up against that. So you get that is darker, and shade underneath there. And then let's go ahead and grab some colors. What do you think? Let's add a little color. Now you can use any kind of paint. I tend to use watercolor in here because it's faster to go up here. I'm trained in painting. I love acrylics. They're super fun. But for the purposes of the video, I usually use watercolor. But you can use whatever you have. And if you have markers, colored pencils, any of those. You can make your dog, again, any color you want to. I'm going to go with the colors or close to the colors that Nellie is now. So I'm going to start with kind of this medium brownish color. And let me get some water. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in where I see this brown right here, and I'm going to start adding it. So you're studying the picture, your reference. So this is called your reference, whatever you're looking at to figure out what's there. So, and I'm going to add a little bit of brown here. Now, what you may notice is I drew this in charcoal. I love charcoal. I did a quick little post because I've been getting lots of questions about what kind of supplies to use. And I have so many supplies, but I don't always use the same supplies for everything. So I thought if I could just get 5 supplies, I was sitting at home and I had to call up Amazon and get 5 supplies. I put out what those would be. One of them would be watercolor. And I don't think I have my set right in here. You know where my green set is that I love so much? Oh, it may be at home. I think I was working on it at home. Watercolor I love, and another thing that I love is charcoal. I love drawing with charcoal because you can paint with charcoal, you can draw with charcoal, you can put charcoal into your paintings. So I tend to use it a lot, but I also use it for y'all because it is darker and you can see it, but you will see how it blends into my paintings a little bit. So we're going to come down and we're going to keep adding that brown. Now, do you remember where we drew our little squiggly line for our hair? Because we know that that hair's there. So, see. So I'm continuing. I'm adding that color in there. I'm gonna add a little bit on this ear. and then a little under here where it's going to be darker. I'm going to come over here and add a little bit where it's darker. And then we're going to have to get on the face, aren't we? Let's see. Okay, how's everyone doing? I'm going to color in this part of the body right here. We're going to get that away. And I also noticed there's a little bit of a line here, so I'm going to go ahead and mark in fur kind of right there, right above that other one. So we're coming along like that. So how are your dogs doing? How's everyone having fun? Now, if I was using other colors, you can get crazy. You can put polka dots. You can just have fun. So now we're going to notice we're going to get onto the face. Remember that triangle we drew? Well, do you notice half the triangle is darker? So I've got that triangle in there. So I might have to blot that. So I'm going to paint in about half that triangle because I'm going to come around to this side of the nose, because I know that that triangle moves up like that. So there's kind of a little bit of a line that comes up. I'm going to move around. And I notice it's darker around her eye. I'm going to go around her eye. So we have any questions? How's everyone doing? Everyone good?
Trying to catch up.
Okay, so I'm going to let you darken all that while we went. We have about half her face. So we came in and we started adding the color. Now I'm just adding big swatches of color just to fill in right now. So I'm making sure that I'm getting that. Just some brown covering this. When we come back, we'll notice that it's darker there, and that's when you start getting this. But right now, we just want it to be brown. I've got charcoal everywhere. Brown, 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 brown. Got a lot of brown. So we're just putting those spots in, and you cannot mess this up. Can't mess it up. Because no matter what happens, if you decide, oh, I made that spot too dark, you can make the other spots darker in relation to that. Or you're going to learn from that, and the next picture you're going to do, you're going to go, oh, I'll go a little bit lighter there. So you literally can't mess up because you're just learning. So, okay, so we've got this brown, this brown, this brown, and then I came up and I kind of did this half of that triangle and part of her face, almost like she has a little split personality there. So now let's come in and see how there's not as much brown on this part of her face. Are y'all laughing at me? You never know what might come out of my mouth. So no, I just say what I'm thinking. So we've got this right here. And kind of letting her. It's a little bit darker than I would make mine normally, but we're going to come down. Again, around her eyes is darker. So now, I'm going to blot it a little bit. When you have watercolor, if you remember our watercolor techniques, you just blot whenever you need a little bit to come off. Slowly but surely, I've got to get brown on almost everything. Then we're going to come down that other side of the triangle. So, let's kind of come down, leaving that little bit where our highlight was. We'll come up to her eye. We're just coloring in. We're looking at our reference and we're trying to figure out where it's brown. So, and I think we need to make this a little bit, it's kind of gray and white right here. So I'm going to take a little bit of my charcoal and move it around in there. Okay, so how's everyone doing? We catching up? We kind of have our color all over. Now we're going to come around and we're going to darken up some of these spaces. If you remember in the apple, we talked about value studies and how dark and how light. Right now we're kind of all the same color. We have a little bit of darker up here. So we're going to darken up. Right here we know this is a lot darker. So let's darken that up. Let's get down here and darken around those edges. See? Right there. We're going to darken that up. And then I notice there's a lighter swatch and it's darker in here. So we're going to catch that. So I'll let y'all do that. And you start noticing how the darker starts coming. We're going to notice where it's darker down here. So come there. Keep adding to it.
If you were painting in this color theme, could you do it with the coffee or tea?
You know, I was thinking that. They asked if you were painting, could you do it with the coffee or tea? This would be a perfect one. I was kind of like, oh, we already did the coffee or tea, which we're going to use some coffee or tea next week just to antique a paper. And so I didn't want to repeat that. I also wanted to reference the blue dog because I thought some people, if you're feeling like a little bit tired of staying inside, like I was today, you might want not brown. You might want blue and pink and green because you might need something that was super cheery. So I wanted to give you that option with the paint. So we're just darkening that up. And then we notice we have a little bit on our feet, but not quite as much. Our feet are pretty light when you look at it. I bet her feet are white in real life. So, but we can't just leave them. So we're just going to add a little bit in there. My charcoal is moving quite a bit, so I hope that's not throwing you off at home. Here's a secret. I normally don't paint vertically. I normally paint on a table, even if I'm doing acrylics, because I like to look down on it and see everything. It might be because I'm pretty short. But it does help for you to be able to see it all this way and to really be able to look at it. But don't worry, if you're painting down, that's how I normally paint. And I'm a professional artist. That's what I do all the time. So let's go ahead. We darkened up there. We've got her. Oh, I've got this little paw here. Oh, look, it does have a few toes. I'll just add one in there. Let's go ahead and darken up around her eyes because we've got this darker right there. Let's darken up around her eyes and her ears. Her ears, see how that's pretty dark right there. Let's add a little bit more right there. Along there. See this ear, I'm going to add a little bit more in there, and then we'll get to her eyes. Now, I'm going to go to a little bit smaller brush, I think, but really what's showing her eyes is her eyes, like your eyes sit in a little bit, her eyes will sit in, so let's go ahead and darken up around those eyes. And it comes down a little bit down that triangle, like that. So we're going to take some darker. You can be using any colors you want. Again, or if you didn't have watercolors and you want to try the coffee or the tea, I love painting with that. So we're going to go around her eyes. See how we're going around where it's a little bit darker? Isn't Nellie cute? She's such a cute dog. I have a Whippet, so she has a really long nose. What kind of dog do you have? Do you have a dog that looks like Nellie? Okay, so we've got some darkness around her eyes that we're really highlighting Nellie's eyes there. I'm going to add in a little bit there. There's something so soothing about painting. Just dipping and brushing and putting paint on.
We've got some Yorkies, Golden Retrievers,
Ooh.
and Pomeranians.
Yorkies, Golden Retrievers, Pomeranians.
Greyhound.
A Greyhound. We had a Greyhound. His name was Perry. But now we have a Whippet. So I'm going to darken up the nose now. Remember, we're leaving that one space a little bit lighter. You want it to, but it's not quite, it's not white. So we're just darkening up, getting that reference around that nose. Now here's a tip. I had charcoal, and so I'm just darkening the charcoal. But you can use a black watercolor or a black watercolor or black marker and let that work. So I think pretty much, might add a little bit of shading there. You're getting the idea of looking where the lights and the darks are, where to put the shapes and the colors. You can literally just sit here. And the more you study it, the more you can just add to it, come along with a little bit darker, shade in. And then you end up with your own dog picture. So my challenge to you would be, can you take a picture of your own dog if you have one? Can you look for where that triangle comes up right there? Can you look where the nose is dark right there? Can you look where it might have fur? We can draw a little bit of lines into the fur. Can you look at those things on your dog? Can you look at a picture of your dog and break it down into the circles and the squares and the shapes so you can start to lay it out on your piece? Can you start to look for where our darks and our lights are? Can you look for those relationships where the ear comes in next to the eye? All those things are what combine together to understand how to draw something, and then how to add color, light, texture, shading. You can continue into this. There's a lot of detail that could be added if you so choose. And the way you add detail is you study the picture and you notice it's darker there, or it's darker there, or there's a tuft of hair there. You are welcome to continue to do that. Little whiskers that come out here. Maybe we'll add a few little whiskers. Let's go ahead and do that because that just sounds fun right now. So we'll kind of gray right here. Let's add a few little whiskers. So you can continue to make Nellie however you want to make her. You can continue to find a picture of your own dog. If you don't have a dog, you might draw your cat. It's the same thing, which we are drawing an Egyptian cat next week. Just a little preview of what's going on next week. But hopefully you can take this understanding, and no matter how it's shaped, even if you can't see all the legs or you can't do it, you can take any picture and you can break it down, and then you can figure out how to combine those shapes and where they fall, and then adding your colors and your layers and your values to what you need to do. So with that being said, continue working on your pieces. I would love for you to share those with me. You can send them to makepaducah@yahoo.com. And we'll put that on the comments just in case you missed it. And as always, give me your permission if you would like me to share that. The other thing you can do is, I'd love to see some that want to go crazy colors and just have fun with it today. That would brighten my day if I got to see that. And tomorrow, Talia, where's our cereal box? What I need you to have for tomorrow, let me tell you this because it might be unclear. You don't necessarily have to have an actual cereal box. Like, maybe you know we might eat Honey Nut Cheerios. What you need is lightweight cardboard that can be cut with scissors. So, and you'll need at least a flat sheet And I'm going to save the side. So I'm going to cut it in front of y'all so you can see. If you have a child that you're worried about using scissors or you're uncomfortable using scissors. So yeah, if you have the insert that came in a shirt package, if you have gift boxes from Christmas that might be that lightweight white, that's all you need. You need something, and something that's going to have a plain side. Can you see how this is plain? Where's some scissors here? Plain cardboard, because we're going to be painting it. Cut that. See how easily I can still, it's stiff enough that I can still cut it with scissors. But see how the inside is plain? You're going to want a plain side. You're going to need something red and black. You're going to need some string and some glue. And I may have put tape on there. I can't remember. But that's what you're going to need tomorrow. So it doesn't have to be a cereal box. That just happened to be something that I knew would be handy in a lot of people's homes. But anything that's a lightweight cardboard. And you can check the list for your supplies, and we'll have that tomorrow. As always, we'll see you tomorrow at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. Art is man's nature, and nature is God's art. See you guys. Bye.